Okay, hi and welcome to another installment of Math Basics, Mr. Besh. Today we're going to use our prior knowledge and skill to create tree diagrams and sample space. We're also going to calculate total outcomes and then finally calculate multiple event probability. Combine this all into this last unit that we did, which was one-step probability. Remember, by definition, probability is your success over your total outcomes. Where we mean success means how many times you can accomplish what you want. And your total outcomes represent how many things can happen overall. Our problem or situation that we're going to have. Let's say we have 3 marbles in a bag. A red marble, a green marble, and a blue marble. And we have a single coin. If we selected one of the marbles at random and then flipped the coin, what are all my possible outcomes? Well, the first thing I could do is create a tree diagram. A tree diagram is created by taking the first event and writing down everything that can happen. Notice I could have chose 3 marbles, red, green, and blue. So I put those on the top of my tree diagram. Secondly, the number of arrows that come down from each of my marbles up here represent how many possible outcomes I have from my second event. And my second event is flipping a coin. When you flip a coin, you only have 2 outcomes. You can either get heads or tails. So from each of the marbles, an arrow comes down representing 1 going to heads and 1 going to tails. Notice, as I go straight across reading this tree diagram from left to right, it reads as follows. I could choose a red marble and then flip a coin and get heads. I could choose a red marble and flip a coin and get tails. I could choose a green marble and flip heads. I could choose a green marble and flip tails. I could choose a blue marble and flip heads, or last but not least, choose a blue marble and flip tails. When I count those all out, there are 6 possible outcomes for this scenario. All right, 6 possible outcomes. Another thing that I can create is a sample space. In mathematics and reality, without drawing a tree diagram, a sample space is just writing out all my possible outcomes and what they are. RH, RT, BH, BT, GH, and GT. Let me explain this a little bit. All I did was abbreviate. R stands for red, B stands for blue, G stands for green. H stands for heads, T stands for tails. And this is all the scenario that can happen. These are the only 6 things that can happen when I select the marble from that bag and when I flip a coin. Now notice again, I got 6 outcomes. They need to be the same. Your sample space and your tree diagram for every single event or multiple event probability has to be the same. Okay? You can't have one sample space for 2 events and a different tree diagram for the same 2 events. They have to be exactly the same, so pay attention to that. Another thing is my 6 outcomes. Technically in mathematics, if I go back to this point, to determine how many outcomes you have, it's simple. Look at your first event, what you're doing. We're selecting a marble. Count how many things can you select. How many different marbles could I select? And write that number down, which is 3. Secondly, I'm flipping a coin. That's my second event. So in reality, think about how many outcomes does that event have by itself, and that's 2. So then if I take the outcomes from the first event, which is 3, and then multiplied by the outcomes of the second event, which is 2, then I get my 6 total outcomes. Last but not least, I can calculate my probabilities as a result, and I want to show you how to do this using my tree diagram, using my sample space, and yet using basic math. This situation, this problem reads, the probability that you choose a green marble and flip the coin and get heads. So now what I want to do is this. First, my tree diagram. Take this information, remember, green marble, heads on the coin, go back to my little scenario here, and how many times does the green marble go to heads? That's the top number, your fraction, and your probability. Your bottom number represents how many things can happen. So only 1 time does my green marble go to heads, and what I have is I have 6 things that can happen here, so my fraction is 1/6. If I used my sample space, the same thing would happen. How many times in this situation do I see a G and an H, green and heads? Only once. How many of these terms do I see? That's my total outcomes. That's 6. So again, my fraction would be 1/6. If you wanted to use basic math to do this math problem, all you got to do is take the first part, which is green. What's the probability of choosing a green marble from 3 different types of marbles? And what that's going to happen is that's going to be 1/3. Multiplied by the probability of flipping a coin and getting heads, which is 1/2. If you notice from our previous lesson, All we're doing is taking the individual probabilities of each, one by one, and multiplying them together. So now the probability of grabbing a green marble from the 3 is 1/3. The probability of flipping heads on a coin is 1/2. And then just multiply these guys together. Remember, when you multiply fractions together, you take the top times the top, which gives us a 1, and then the bottom times the bottom, 3 times 2 gives us a 6. This is my multiple event probability. Tree diagrams, sample space, total outcomes. I hope you found this both helpful and informative.